Welcome dreamers, happy Saturday. Hope you're excited for part 2 of our Terraform Tower build. In yesterday's video, we built a tower in the forest biome. This was a pretty standard tower, you know, it had a nice square conifer build, and we had a round tower at the very top. But we ended yesterday's video with the cliffhanger of that we were going to terraform this tower today. That is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to build a terraform path up along this tower, along with putting in some farming land plots along the terraformed path. This way we'll have both a build and a farm to go along with it, alongside the tower. Before we get into the build though, a quick reminder that DreamWorld is in early access. If you go down to the description, there'll be a link to DreamWorld's website. Once there, you can get the free trial for DreamWorld, and you can try it out for yourself. And if you like what you play in the trial and like what you see in today's video, feel free to purchase the game in early access. But now that you know that, here we go. Let's get right to building our terraformed path around our tower in DreamWorld. Before we get started on the build, let's recap what we did specifically. We found a nice plot of land and tilled it out till it was completely flat in the forest. We made sure to pick grassland, as we had lots of grass material as opposed to materials like sand or, you know, mud. We then made a 3x3 square designed for a conifer wood tower. We built this tower all the way up using mostly window frames, and every third level of wall we made a little platform which would act as kind of a terrace when we actually made the terraform path, which we're going to do today. The idea was that each platform would actually have an access point out onto the terraform path. When we got to the top of the tower, after making 3, terraces, we then transformed the square shape of the tower into a cylindrical build. This cylindrical section of the tower made up the very top of the tower that wouldn't have any terraforming on it. What we did do up here, though, is make amazing views using cylindrical windows. And we also ended the build with a little, walkway at the very top of the tower. And that's basically what we did last time. That's where we left off. So today we're gonna hop right into building and continue from where we left off yesterday. We're gonna start our terraformed path to the left of the door. We're gonna use many different techniques to actually build the terraform path up. I'm gonna go over some of them as we encounter them. The first, which you see right here, is the use of smelted white crystals. Being able to fly mid-air while building this terraform path is gonna be the easiest method to go about terraforming. But you'll also notice that I will build platforms along the sides of the build. We have a building here, we might as well utilize its snap points, and standing on these platforms is gonna give me a nice, stable angle to build off of the terraform pathing. The only downside to using platforms is that sometimes you end up being too far from your terraform path, so make sure to use this method only when you're able to get close to where you left off with the pathway. We want to make the path flush with the bottom of the door frame so it's easy to walk in and out of the building onto the path. Now that we've got the path connected to the first opening, I'm going to put more platforms down. However, it's in using these platforms I discovered another way to go about terraforming, and that's using the climbing system. If you don't have smelted white crystals, you can simply climb onto a build if you're terraforming around the build, and use your build pieces to get you different angles to extend a pathway. Notice here how I position myself on the sides of the build, climbing on the walls to extend the path either straight out, up, or down. Being able to actually terraform while climbing a building or, the side of a mountain surface makes it super easy to terraform if you don't have smelted white crystals and can't fly. I was able to get almost every angle that I needed by doing this. It was actually perfect for what I was trying to do. It has its limitations, but I'd say this is definitely the second best way to go about terraforming, at least in terms of the build I'm trying to make here. As we're building the pathway up though, I'm gonna make minor adjustments as I go. I gotta make sure the path is actually climbable. I don't want it to be super bumpy where I get knocked off all the time trying to get up to the top of the tower. Going back to flying though, you'll notice here you can get any angle super easily to build your terraform path, up, down, to the side. It's also very easy to readjust angles that you want to build at. To explain how I was able to get the pathway to actually climb upwards, along the build, I did this by positioning myself above the pathway and getting a downward angle as I added, material to the terraformed path. This would cause the path to grow upwards towards me, hence creating an incline. As we reach the next opening in the tower, you're going to notice that I'm building a little bit too high for the doorway. If this happens while you're building, just, you can always adjust by creating a downward angle and building at a downward, a decline as you approach the, hole in the side of your base. Or you can just use your shovel to till the ground that's next to the door. I luckily had enough material where I could take some away and still have a pretty sturdy path. We'll again real quickly go through and just make adjustments to the path. Basically, we just test if I can traverse it as it is, and then I'll go ahead and either flatten the ground or remove material or add material where there's bumps and I can't traverse it smoothly. As we continue to build upward along the side of this tower, I definitely have to say that the mix of flying with smelted white crystals and, using the base itself or the build itself as a way to extend the path are definitely the perfect mix. I would fly around corners and then I would climb in Terraform as I was going along a long side of the build. Now that we reached the final landing in the tower, and there's no more openings to terraform to, let's go back through the pathway and just make sure that we smoothen out all the bumps on the path. Just make it as traversable as possible for now. As for what we do with the path from here, we're gonna build it up a little bit more, and then we're gonna end it on the side of the build by making a big terraformed platform on the outside of the tower. This is gonna be one of the few farming plots we're gonna make alongside the tower. Now that we're at the height we're gonna stop at, we're gonna extend the pathway straight out using smelted white crystal flime. I'm gonna combine that with the platform technique to then terraform the pathway out to make it nice and wide. We're basically gonna make a floating terraformed plane on the side of this tower. We'll make it as big as the width of the tower itself. As we're lengthening this path out, we're gonna make sure to till the ground and make it as flat as possible. I want it to be nice and flat so we can plant farm on this place. These floating islands also just look better when they're flat. Okay, we are officially done with our top farm area, the end of the path. Let's now take some time to go back through the entire path and really just make sure it's as flat as possible. Iron out all the bumps, iron out all the places that knock me off. We want a nice smooth pathway. All right, let's have a look. This is how the terraform path looks going around the sides of my tower build. Just as I was hoping, it looks like an earthen tendril has, you know, wrapped itself around my tower. I think it turned out pretty good, and it actually wasn't too hard to do, mainly because I was able to utilize the techniques shown in the video. We're also gonna run up the tower just to show that each of the, you know, terrace areas, the little platforms up and down the tower, all their access points to this earthen path work completely fine, and the idea to have multiple pathways up this tower has been done well. Now that the path itself is done, we're gonna make 2 more farm plots along the tower. These plots of land are gonna be at the first 2 access points to the path itself. Using the power of flight, we're just gonna extend the pathway out with more terraforming. We're gonna make sure that the land is nice and smooth and flat as it extends outwards to this next new plot of land. We don't wanna disrupt the current path. For the design of the farm plots, we're gonna make them about the same as the farm plot at the top of the tower, just a little bit smaller. Now that our first one is complete, let's go up to the next terrace and create the next farm plot. We're gonna do the exact same strategy, exact same design, exact same method about going about making this farm plot. This will be the last one that I do, as I'm running a little bit low on grass materials. The next thing I want to do is put torch lighting around the build. This is a massive tower, so I want to make sure we have good lighting no matter where we are on the tower. We did use torches in the last video, but that was mainly just so we could see the build at night. Here, we're going to use default torches as the permanent go-to lighting. I'll make sure to put lighting at the front door, the farm plots, the top of the tower, in the middle of the tower. We'll fit torches everywhere we can. Next on our list is the interior of the tower. This is something we didn't get to do last time. Basically, all we're gonna do is just make a banister for the staircase that leads up from the bottom of the tower to where the tower becomes round. We're gonna use oak wood to make this. Our main build pieces we're gonna use are gonna be these pillars. We're gonna use wood fences. We're also gonna use triangle-shaped wall pieces. I'm gonna mix and match these build pieces, you know, as I go around the build. I'm just gonna basically play around with stuff and see what works and see what fits best. Just like we did with the staircase and the fencing around the staircase, we're gonna make each level of the build have basically the same design. So each part of the banister we're gonna build per level of flooring is gonna look around the same. I wanna keep the build as symmetrical as possible and not deviate too much from what my original plan was. Also take notice how I'm shrinking some build pieces, like the pillars, for example. I don't want them to be full size. It's going to be way too big. We're going to shrink them down here because this tower is a bit of an enclosed space. However, with the rest of the banister pieces, like the fencing and the, you know, triangle-shaped walls, we'll keep them at normal size. Now that the interior staircase of the build is done, let's add decorations to other parts of the build, such as the top of the tower and the outer walkways of the tower. We actually weren't able to decorate in the last video, so we're gonna do it now. We're just gonna add some oak pillars. That's about it. Let's also try to enclose the roof as much as possible in the section where the square part of the tower meets the cylindrical part of the tower. We won't be able to perfectly seal this section, but I want it to feel at least a little bit enclosed. Lastly, all there is left to do is to plant some farm. We want to utilize these farm plots after all. On the first farm plot, we're going to put some blue mushroom spores. At the next level of farm plot, we're gonna put some wheat farm. I still have a ton of wheat seeds left over from the fall farmhouse build. And at the very top farm plot, we're gonna plant oak trees because I need some more oak wood. And there you go, we are finally done with Terraform Tower. I hope this build was able to show how you can mix both terraforming and just normal building to create really unique builds. More importantly, I hope this shows that, you can use terraform material to actually coexist and combine it with, building assets, and they can work in harmony pretty well. I hope you enjoyed today's content and your Saturday. Subscribe to our channel if you want to see videos just like this one. And if you're interested in playing DreamWorld for yourself after watching today's video, head down to that description where there's the link to our website. Again, you can get the free trial to try the game out for yourself or purchase the game in early access. And with all that, have an amazing day. I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye, dreamers.